Okay, welcome to my video on breeding. We're going to go over stats, how they work in dinos, wild dinos, after you tame them, what stats you should look for, and then we're actually going to set up a breeding area for these trikes so that way you will understand how you can get the best out of your mutations without limiting yourself. So we're going to start with our female here. She has 44 weight in her, which is her best stat, obviously. Generally, you'll look for over a 40 in the stat. So if you look in the parentheses, it's got next to weight 44 and 0. The 44 is the wild tame stat. That's what it has a chance to hand down to the babies. The one on the right is how many points I put into it. So you'll see I haven't even touched this one yet. We'll go to the inventory, put one in weight, and now she has 44 and 1. So the one on the right does not matter. I could max out her weight, put 75 points into it to the point she can't get any more levels, and the only thing she can hand down to a child is that 44, or if it mutates, of course, but we'll get into that later. So when you start breeding, or when you start taming, sorry, what you're going to hunt for, if it's a regular dino, you want it to have, if it's wild, you want it to be like a 145 or a 150 on our cluster. That's because our max level is 150 for regular dinos. You want it to generally have between 25 to 30 points already in that stat. Now, you can tame any dino and hope that it gets a good roll, but the way they work is, let's say you tame a 150, it has a perfect tame, and it starts out with 30 points in any of the stats you're looking for. Let's say health has 30 points in health. You tame it, it's going to get an extra 75 levels. And the way ARC works, for every level, it will randomly allocate a point to a random stat. So if it starts at 30, obviously the higher it starts, the higher chance you have of breaking that kind of magical number of 40 that you're looking for when you're looking to start breeding. Now, for these purposes, I don't have the main stats I want of health and melee over 40. I only have stamina and weight between the two. Just because I really just am breeding these for the video. I probably won't really have a use for these after I'm done. So, but generally what you're looking for is over 40. Now, these are techs, actually. If I was hunting a good tech, I would be looking for something over 45 as a base to start breeding. But for these purposes, these are the stats we have to work with. So, after you tame it, get a 150, 75 random points allocated. Hopefully it goes into the stat you want. If not, keep taming until you find the one you want. It's 100% random, so you may get it on your first one. You may get it on your 10th one. You may get it on your 50th one. I know some people who can get over 54 in a stat on their third dino they've ever tamed, and then other people who will hunt for weeks and weeks on end and never get anything over 40. It's just the way it rolls. So, now we're going to get into the breeding aspect of it. What you want when you're breeding, the biggest key is we want 0 mutations, right? We want to start with 0 mutations. If we have a mutation in here, we do not put it in our breeding pile. We'll get into that here in a minute as to why. But for right now, I am going to breed these two up, and then I am going to try and get up to 16 female Tricet Tech Trikes, okay? And the reason I want 16 is I use a mutator, and we'll get into what that is later, but I use a mutator, and it gives me guaranteed mutations, and so statistically speaking, it's important I have 16, but we'll actually go over why I want 16 later, but for now, we want 16 females and 1 male. That's my goal right now. I do not care what my stats are at the moment on those females. They can be low, they can be high. The only thing I care about is that they have 0 in both match and pat. 0 mutations. That's the key. So let me get these guys bred up. We'll get some more females out here. And then once we have that, I will bring you guys back. Okay, so I have all of my females ready to go here. I have double checked that none of them have a mutation on them. Every single dino here should have 0 mutations. So why is 0 mutations important for my females? For this method to work, essentially whenever you breed, remember, you can only have 20 mutations on one side before it will stop mutating. That means you cannot increase its stat past that point. It will not give you a mutation. So if we have all of these females with 0 mutations, then we will always be able to get a mutation from the mother because she is at 0. Now let's say she had 1, right? We would still be able to get a mutation out of it. But what would happen is, this is my male here. Let's say we want to mutate. Oops, I don't have my spyglass out here. Let's say we want to mutate this guy's health, right? He's at 38. So if you get a normal mutation, it would go up 2 extra points per mutation, and that would put you at 40. And so you would have 1 mutation for 40 health, right? But if he has 0 mutations and the mom has 1 mutation in either of these, the baby is going to come out with 2 mutations. 1 from the health mutation for the extra 2 points, and then 1 just random mutation from the mother, and it won't do any good because the stats in those parentheses are not tied to mutations. Those are just straight numbers, and the mutation is just a counter. So essentially, even if you get 1 mutation for health, it won't matter in terms of later if the baby doesn't have that health, because it's still going to have a mutation counter on it. So the key is all the mothers have to have 0 mutations for this trick to work, okay? All right, so there's 2 ways we can go about this. One is we go the non-mutator way, which essentially just means I set every female here ready to breed, and I put a male in the middle with a stat I want to breed, and I basically just let them hatch out eggs, or pop out eggs over and over and over, and I run over here to my hatchery, and I pick up those eggs and dump them out on the ground. And I keep doing that until I get the mutation I want, all right? So basically, every single time an egg comes out and it's ready to hatch, I throw it out on the ground. It doesn't have what I want, I euthanize it, and I wait for another one. And you can let this sit here for a day or 2. As long as you have a hatchery running, your eggs will just sit in there and be fine. You can hatch out 100 at once if you're ready, okay? The other way is with the mutator, which is the way I'm going to be doing it. The method is still the same. The only difference is the mutator, the way it works, is I essentially pulse the mutator, and it guarantees I will get a mutation on a stat. It doesn't tell me what stat, and it doesn't tell me which parent stat. So I could get this one's right here, the HP from this one, right? Or sorry, the HP from the male at 38, but the mom mutates the mutation, so it's not going to work right. I have to wait till I get a mutation on the mom's health at 44 with the mutator, okay? Because the mutator allows me to get 4 points instead of 2, but it guarantees a mutation. It just doesn't tell me which parent it's going to mutate. So that's why if I have 7 dinos, then statistically I'm probable to get a health mutation. But if I have 14 dinos, then statistically I am hopefully going to get a mutation on the right parent, and then I throw in the extra 2 just to increase the odds a bit. Hopefully that all makes sense. It's a little statistical heavy. But, so, basically my highest health is going to be this female right here. You notice she has no mutations. She has 40. So, for now, I'm just going to be attempting to get this guy, his stamina is what I want to mutate off this. 41's my highest stam. So, my goal for this mutation will be to mutate his stam. Now, it doesn't matter which stat I'm trying to mutate as long as all of the females have 0 mutations and the male has the stat that I want to mutate. Then I have the highest chance of getting it. So, but for this breed, we're just going for stam just to show how it works. I will go and get some mutators. I will pulse them so that you guys can see them in action. I'll let the eggs get ready. And then once they're ready, I will bring you guys back and we will do the hatching and we can see how the stats all pop out. So, see you guys in a bit. Okay, so we have our gender swap trikes that are now female. We have double checked that they all have 0 mutations. We have our male in place that we want to breed our stamina off of. and then we are going to go ahead and run our pulse. Now, like I said, we can do 2 mutation pulses. So if we pulse 1, you'll see over the tops of the dinos, it'll have like a little hazard symbol with 1 of 2. Pulse it again. It'll show us 2 of 2. Now, what this lets me do is, like I said earlier, guarantee a mutation. We're going to set mating here on our male. Make sure all the little hearts are on all the dinos. Yep, looks good. Okay. So what the mutator is letting me do is, like I said earlier, guarantee a mutation on a random stat from one of the parents. It doesn't tell me which one or which stat. And then it also gives me 4 points per mutation instead of 2. So yes, it does let me speed up the process by a lot. But it doesn't really change the method. It just lets me shortcut the time, essentially. Because I can gender swap if I get a female instead of a male. I get 4 points instead of 2. Now, here's the trick to the way this thing works, right? The way breeding works in ARC. And why this method right here specifically is important. This method allows me to go over 20 mutations per dino, essentially. So what I can do is, let's say I just want to breed health, I just want to breed melee, doesn't matter. In this case, I'm breeding stamina. So let's say I want to breed my stamina, right? I can take and breed stamina for 20 times so that I get 4 times 20. I get 80 extra points into stamina, right? On this one dino. And then I take a separate dino with health, right? And I breed it. I get 80 extra points. And then I take melee and I breed it. And I get another 80. And I take weight and I get another 80. You see what I'm getting at? I would have 20 mutations per individual dino. So that's 80 mutations, right? Then I combine all 4 lines because I don't have to mutate to combine. So now I'm going to have 80 mutations on that one baby. Okay? So that is what is key to this method, is these unmutated females, so that I can get 20 mutations per stat, and then I can combine all those stats when I'm ready onto one baby dino and create a line out of that baby. Okay? The other thing, and make sure, by the way, you always disable mating on your male when you're done, otherwise it'll mess up your whole pattern here if using a mutator. So anyways, after the baby, right, we can combine the stats on that. That's great. But what happens if we want to go over 80 points extra into that one dino? So what that means is, let's say this male, right, already has 20 stat mutations on it. And remember, the mutation is not tied to the stat. It's only a counter. So what it does is, they're basically, let's say I breed these 2. The stats for the baby are rolled first between the 2. And then, if one of the parents can mutate, right, and one of them can't, it will assign a random mutation to one of the parents. Now, if it assigns it to the dad, then there are no mutations because the dad's already maxed at 20. But the mom doesn't have one. So I could get the dad's stat on the baby egg, but a mom mutation. So that way, I can infinitely mutate a baby. But I have a 50% less chance to mutate when I do that, because the dad is already maxed, right? So I would need to essentially double the amount of my female dinos if I wanted statistically the same chance of getting the mutation I want. I generally stop whenever I hit 20 because there's not a boss in the game that can do that. But if you really like breeding, you can absolutely use this method to get over 20 mutations on a single dino. So we're going to check our hatchery, make sure it picked everything up. Yep, it picked all of our eggs up. You can see I don't have a full 16. I've only got about 11, just because I wanted to get the breeding video out. So, but basically, once these are all done, I will record throwing them out. So hopefully we will get the stamina stat that we're looking for. If not, we would just keep doing it over and over. So if in the next video or the next part of the video I don't get it, then I will go ahead and do it a second and a third and a fourth time, however many times it takes me to get that stamina, so that I can show you how to put the male back in the pile, rebreed again, and you'll just understand the whole process. So I will see you guys whenever we get to that point. Okay, and we are back. Let's get our eggs thrown out here and see what we get. Now, they only have a pretty quick timer on them. On our settings, we have the 3 times breeding and all that kind of fun stuff, so these will hatch pretty quick here, and I'll have to scramble around to catch them and then throw a bunch of berries in my nanny over there if I have any that need to grow up. So we'll see. Now, remember, we had 41 stam on the dad, so that is the stat we are looking to mutate. Now, if you're curious what that red blinking light is, that's my Parasaur on enemy detection mode, because it really helps with babies. In case you have any wander away from you, you don't catch them in time, that'll let you know where they're at. So, there's one. Looks like we got 3 or 4 left. Oh no, got a couple over there. Grab this one. Nope, those are good. So that's it. Okay. Take out our super spyglass. Look for you. 42 stam. Oh, do I have a 42 stam over there? Oh no, probably one of the other ones mutated that had like 38 stam, and that's a stam mutation right there. So, right click to mark with your euthanasia gun. Left click kills it. Move on to the next one. Nope, there's a 41 stam, but not a mutation. This one? 38, yep. 41. 41. Now, of course, if you like any of these, any of the colors you get or anything like that, you can save them. But we're just doing this for the video, just to show the process and how I do it and how to get. There we go. There's a 45. So I will label it 45 stam breeder. Take it off wandering. Have it stop following. Okay, so now the colors obviously on this one are pretty bland. It's just like a copper or silver. So if that's not something you like, you can keep hunting for one that you like colors on. But I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. I'll have the rest of them follow me over here so they're out of the way. Come on. Alright, and then alright, those are all done. Then I use generally I'll use my Daedon to clean them up, which he should be around here. Oh, there he is, right behind me. I'm blind. Then, after you clean them up, oh, I'm gonna put the berries in my nanny here. Don't want to forget that, because then they probably wouldn't live very long. I'll just pull 2,000. Probably only gonna need like 400 or 500 for a trike, if that, but better safe than sorry. Now, of course, after you harvest the bodies, you do get a little bit of resources from them. You're gonna get some electronics, dust, scrap metal, but the prime is what I'm looking for. Kick it over here, and then I'll get some cooked prime from it. So good, you know, obviously good for jerky and recipes later, stuff like that. All right, so we have our 45 stamina breeder coming up, and now in my case, I did get lucky that it's a male, but obviously with my mutator, I could, if I got a female, I could swap it to a male. But we got a male, so that's easier. And when it's fully grown, I will bring you guys back again. We will throw it into the pile, and then it just starts the process over. Breed it again. And now trikes are very quick to grow up, especially on our settings. So if you want to breed multiple stats at once, you just have multiple piles of females. But like gigas, if you want to breed for melee and say health and stam, you want to breed all 4 stats for them as well, then you could just have one pile of gigas, because they take so long to grow up. Odds are you're going to be able to go through like 5 or 6 breeds before you get the initial one grown. So you'd only need one pile for them. I use one pile for my Rexes just because they are really convenient. They had pretty much exactly enough time for me to do one, and then while it's growing, do another. And then if I need to, and I didn't get the egg I was looking for, I could breed them again before the first one's fully grown. But But obviously, more piles you have, it'll go a little bit faster depending on the dino. So, when this one's fully grown, we'll just go stick it in the pile, and then I'll go over everything I talked about, make sure I didn't miss anything, and that'll be the end of it. See you later. Alright, now that we have our 45 stamina breeder all raised up, ready to go, I'm going to come over here, pull out my old male, the original that we were pulling the stam off of, whistle in my new one here. Should come right in here. Let's get the follow distance a little closer. Make sure he gets into the middle. Come on. There we go. Alright. And now, all I have to do is somehow get out of here. Can I get out of here? Maybe. There we go. Okay. Alright, now that we got the male put in there, all I have to do is pulse the mutators again if I'm using mutators. If I'm not, I just set him to breed. And then every time an egg pops out, or let a bunch of eggs pop out, I come in here, check them, throw them out till I get the mutation I want, turn him off breeding, and start the process all over again. It's really that simple to get mutations. So, remember, what you want is, if you're looking for a breeder to tame, it's non-tech, it's just a standard dino. You're looking for usually a minimum of 40 points in that left-hand column in the parentheses. If you're looking for tech or something like that, you're probably going to be looking closer to 45 to 50. And the Super Spyglass is really good because it tells you how many points can be passed down to the child. So I could level this guy up all I wanted, put all the points I wanted to stamina, but it will not matter at all to the Super Spyglass, because this thing can tell me exactly how. So you see in the name, I named it 45 Stam Breeder, just so that I know where it's going to go, and then if it's in a cryopod, I know where it came from, what I used it for. That's pretty much it for breeding. Just a big pile of unmutated females. Their stats don't matter at all. The only thing that matters is this main breeder. The more females you have, the better chance you have of getting the mutation you want. And once you get the mutation you want on a male, then you can stop all the breeding, wait for it to grow up, pull out your original male, and put your new one back in. That's pretty much it. Just remember, all of your females have to have 0 mutations on them. All your females. So that way, every time you get a new mutation, you guarantee only get 1. Although somehow this guy got 2. I'm going to guess that it is possible for a dino to have 2 mutations on it. Basically, it'll mutate 2 random stats instead of just 1. It is possible for that to happen, so I guess I got a little unlucky there. But normally you would only have 1 mutation on it if you're using the mutators or if you're hatching your egg. Remember, if you're only looking for 1 stat, if it does double mutate like that, honestly, it's better redo it until you get one that only has 1. That way, you can hit that 20 mutations and actually get 20 stat mutations, not just artificially increasing these mutation numbers, because the faster these goes up, the harder it is to get that mutation after you hit 20. So you won't be able to maximize the amount of stats you get. That's pretty much it for the breeding video. Feel free to leave me any comments down below, or if you're in the Discord server, shoot me a message in Discord or ask in general chat. I'm around most days, and I'm happy to answer anything you got. Till then, see you next time.